Search engine optimization is a common marketing strategy that brands will engage in as a way to ensure that the people who have the problem that their brand solves and who are searching for a solution are able to see this brand as a solution for that problem. Over the years, as I've been learning more and more about search engine optimization, I've been curious, especially as I think about my own experiences as someone with a lot of differences in the ways in which I have to go about searching to get my problems solved when I'm looking for a specific answer from a brand. It's caused me to think a lot more about inclusive marketing and its relation to search engine marketing. Now, I've got a whole framework for making your search engine optimization strategy more inclusive, and we'll cover that in a future episode. But today, I wanted to bring in an SEO expert for you, Dale Bertrand, founder of the agency Fire and Spark. So after this short break, you'll hear my conversation with Dale all about how to make your search engine optimization strategy more inclusive. Did you know that most businesses only use 20% of their data? That's like reading a book with most of the pages torn out or paying for a coffee that's just 1/5 full. Point is, you miss a lot unless you use HubSpot. Their customer platform gives you access to the data you need to grow your business. The insights trapped in emails, call logs, and transcripts, all that unstructured data that makes all the difference. Because when you know more, you grow more. And when you get a full cup of coffee, you can do more too. But I digress. Visit HubSpot.com today. Hey, Dale, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, it's my pleasure. As I was just telling you, I've been learning a lot more about SEO lately, and I've been thinking a lot about SEO in the context of inclusive marketing because they're very much connected. So I'm excited to dig into this topic a little bit more with you. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, tell the people, who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Dale Bertrand, and I run an SEO agency, Fire and Spark. I also speak at a whole bunch of conferences, and lately I've been into AI tools for marketing, trying to figure out what the future of marketing looks like.
Very cool. It's evolving quickly, isn't it? Right. So I think there's a lot of things that weren't part of our future previously, but are very much rapidly becoming part of our future, like right now. Right. So,
Yeah, like sometimes it feels like the technology is changing out from under us. Since we work in digital marketing, like the technology is constantly changing,
yeah.
and every time there's a huge shift, like the shift to digital or the shift to AI marketing, you kind of have to decide whether you're going to go along for the ride or
Mhm.
maybe take the off ramp at this point in your career.
Yeah. Well, I feel very much that way about inclusive marketing, that it is the future of marketing. And people are going to have to, like, as you just said, decide if they're along for the ride. But the danger is because you always have a choice, right? But if you're not going to be along for this ride, I think you're going to find that your business isn't going to, like, because consumers are going to like tell you to take the off ramp.
Yeah, you'll get offed, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I like to start a lot of these conversations by making sure that we're aligned on definitions. And so I'm curious how you define search engine optimization.
Oh, I love that question because you think about it in multiple levels. Like in one level, you're optimizing for Google so you get more traffic and more clicks to your website. And that's wonderful. That can do wonders for businesses. But then another way to look at it is that search marketing is all about getting in front of intent.
Mhm.
When people are looking for something specific, they have an intent to find information or a product or a service. And you can get your brand, your business, your products in front of them at the moment that they're doing their search. And if that aligns with their intent, in other words, if you have what they're looking for, then it works wonderfully. But there's a third way to look at it. And I need to mention this too, which
Okay.
is I got into search engine optimization because it was fun for me, because it was like a puzzle. It's like this technical challenge. We have to figure out, how do I get Google to show my pages and not my competitors' pages? So the third
Mhm.
way that I like to think about SEO is as a mindset, where you're
Okay.
trying to figure out, how to get your content in front of your customers using the tools that you have and the technology at your disposal and whatever Google happens to be doing at that time.
I love that you say it's a mindset because I feel like so many aspects of the ways in which we approach marketing are really mindset based, and we don't talk enough about that. To market effectively over time to people who have a diversity of identities, you have to have an inclusive mindset to be able to do that effectively. So it sounds like what you're saying from an SEO standpoint, to be effective in that, you have to have this sort of SEO based mindset so you know how to answer, how to be the one that Google is serving up when people, or Google or whatever search engine it is, that's being served up whenever people have a specific intent related to the problem that your brand solves.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that mindset is all about being curious. So
Hmm.
you're trying to figure out, like, why is Google showing what they're showing? What do I need to be doing so that more of my customers are seeing, my products and my services? But really critically, what the curiosity that you need is really about your customers. So what are their preferences? What are their pain points? What would they respond to? How can you get them to engage, and ultimately solve their problems?
For sure. For sure. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, I've been learning a lot more about SEO, and I was poking around and I saw that you talk a lot about evidence based SEO. What is that, and why is it important for us to be thinking about SEO in that way?
Yeah, well, I love that you asked that question. First, I always want to talk about like the old school way of doing SEO, in a lot of ways and this is a way that a lot of people are thinking about it still. Is it's a checklist. If I do these
Mhm.
10 things, then I've done SEO. So what they're looking for is, what are those 10 things, the SEO best practices that you need to do in order to get it right. But the thing is that because SEO is changing, and there's so much that's changing, there's the technology, there's Google's algorithm, there's your customers' search behavior and buying behavior, and the questions that they're asking, like that's all constantly changing. So instead, you really have to be focused on figuring out what's working today. And the reason why I call it evidence-based SEO is because what we're doing as an agency, I mean, we work with dozens of brands at any given time. So if you think about it, there's a lot of experiments that we're running around what's working today. How do you
Mhm.
reach this specific audience with SEO? So that's the evidence that I'm referring to. So do what works, like do experimentation, do more of what works, rather than being focused on what are the 10 best practices and just checking off that list every time you're writing a blog article or something like that.
Yeah, so I think this relates very much to what you see happening in inclusive marketing, because a lot of times, and this goes back to that mindset, right? Like I think if we have the like a checklist, sometimes often can feel like, what's the minimum that I need to do to get this result that I want? So as long as I do these things, whatever it is on the list, I will get the types of customers that I want. But it really takes more of figuring out what is that the people that you're trying to serve need from you, and the evidence that you're giving it to them effectively was going to give you the signals of, are you doing something correctly or are you not, whether it's inclusive marketing, whether it's SEO, whether it's performance marketing, or what have you, I imagine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the world is a big place and a diverse place. So, like, what we're always thinking about is how do you capture as much of that as you possibly can.
Mhm.
And I talked about AI at the beginning here, but AI eventually will allow us to personalize, one-on-one communications with specific customers, and that opens up a whole new world. That being able to target specific individuals based on their preferences, their journey up until that point, and I'm using journey very broadly,
Mhm.
to how they got to the point where they're searching for your product or something like that. So it's the technology is kind of catching up to where we should have been all along, really.
For sure, for sure. So at the beginning, you mentioned intent based SEO. Could you explain a little bit more about the intent and making sure that brands are really focused on that versus just like, how is that very much different from traditional ways that people have been thinking about SEO?
Yeah, I mean, if you think of traditional marketing or advertising, or you take advertising, you're interrupting people. Hopefully, you're interrupting the right people. Hopefully, you're giving them an engaging message and they eventually end up buying what you're selling. That's the old way to do customer acquisition. But with search marketing, you have the opportunity to get your brand, your message in front of your customers when they're searching for your product. And that just should blow your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like conversion rates go through the roof because you're reaching them at the right time. The example that I love to give is, imagine if you sell diapers online. It might make sense that you want to target parents of newborns. And
Yeah.
nobody's gonna argue with that, right? Like, hey, you sell diapers, get in front of parents with newborns. And that's like interruption-based advertising would be the way to do it. But instead, if you're doing search marketing, you actually don't want to do that sort of demographic targeting. Instead, what you'd rather do is get in front of anybody who is searching for a diaper. It's like, duh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense when you stop and think about it. And then when you realize that, conversion rates go through the roof, like your
Mm-hmm.
targeting is laser focused, then you're looking at the old advertising models and thinking to yourself, well, how did this ever work? Like, why would I
Yeah.
ever spend money on that? But so what I'm illustrating here is search marketing is all about targeting intent. So
Okay.
instead of thinking about what demographic am I targeting, you want to think of like, what intents am I targeting? And that might be somebody who's searching to buy a diaper, or somebody who wants information about B2B CRM software systems,
Right.
or someone who's looking for a doctor in Boston. Like
Right.
whatever that intent is, that's what you're targeting. And it's much more effective than demographic targeting.
And I imagine whenever you focus your efforts on intent, you have to think about a broad diversity of intents that people will have versus maybe even demographic. And the reason why I say that is depending upon what identity you have, your intention of what you're searching for can change quite a bit. So the example that I'll use is I follow a gluten-free diet. So whenever I'm looking for a restaurant near me, my intent is always gluten-free restaurants near me, or it's gluten-free and then the name of the restaurant or something like that. And so often the content that I get served up is almost never from the actual establishment. It's from like a gluten-free community website where they're like, highlighting who've scoured, different locations to be able to give like the scoop on that. So I feel like a lot of times brands aren't thinking about the intent from the different types of people who have the problem that their brand solves. They kind of keep it narrowly focused, which I feel like it seems like they're losing out on a lot of opportunity because their intent is limited.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. And part of what's going on there is a lot of brands are focused on their products, their service,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what their
Mm-hmm.
marketing is all about, instead of getting to know your customers and getting
Yeah.
to know a large number of your customers so that you can really
Yeah.
see, the texture of diversity in the folks who are interested in your products and your services. And then doing your best to offer. And it doesn't mean that, I want to be careful here, because it doesn't mean that brands shouldn't be differentiated. And there are
Yeah.
definitely brands that are right for me and other brands that are right for somebody else, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
But still, there's an opportunity based on your positioning in the marketplace to target just more people.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen any examples of where consumer identities have very much impacted the way in which they're searching or the intent in which they're going about looking for answers online with regards to, maybe some of the people that you're working with or just overall industry trends and
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've seen it when like searches for a physician, where a lot of
Mhm.
times people want a physician that looks like them, and that can be
Yeah.
hard to find depending on what you look like.
Yeah.
But but
Yeah.
and just the fact that not all marketers would understand that, and honestly, it's because they never asked, right?
Right.
Is what it comes down to. And if they have asked, they haven't asked enough people to really suss out what people are searching for. And then another thing would be like building a persona. Like it's best practice to build a persona document and then do your marketing around that. But if you only have one, then
Yeah.
you're really marketing towards this, one personality.
Yeah.
But then also for something like housing or a daycare, like you have the same types of issues. And we did a project with a chain of preschools in the Boston area. And I had a friend who had a daughter who was preschool age. I asked her to use my computer to do the search so I could see everything that she searched on for our market research. And what I expected her to do was to search for preschools in her town and then click on the preschools and see, look, drop off time, pick off time, what's their curriculum, how much do they cost, all of that. But instead, what she did was she searched for preschools in her area and she didn't go to a single website. She
Mm.
wrote down the names of a few of them and she went to a mom's group. And she asked the moms, what do you think? What do you think of these 3 preschools? Does anybody have any experience with these 3 preschools? And that's something that I would have never even imagined, right? Like
Yeah.
as a marketer, I'm not a mom, but it turned out I am a dad, but it turned out that the right way to market to the moms the preschool was marketing to was to go directly through moms groups
Right.
even if it was like Facebook group or a
Right.
group that met in physical location in person, to go through those groups to basically raise awareness of the preschool in their town. And we wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought of that, right? If we hadn't talked to enough people to understand, like, how were they really searching? What did they really care about?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding you correctly, it's that customer intimacy is at the heart of any effective SEO strategy. Because if you don't know who it is that you're serving and the different types of identities that they hold and the ways in which they're searching for and receiving information, you can't build a strategy that will actually give them what they need at the point in which they need it.
Yes, and it can sound overwhelming because it can sound like, well, wait, there's a million people out there I
Yeah.
could be targeting. So what am I supposed to be? How do I optimize my website for each individual?
Hmm.
All at the same time. But it's actually more simple in practice, where what you're doing is you're talking to as many customers as you can, and you're basically trying to research what questions are they asking when they're making a buying decision.
Okay.
And then for the web content that you're publishing, making sure that there's an entry point, a piece of content that
Yeah.
might be in a variety of different types of content that answers each and every question that you decide you want to target. So then different people have a different entry point, like into
Yeah.
your brand, to get introduced to your brand. Think of it as like increasing the surface area with your brand to get more people to engage.
Yeah. No, I think that's helpful. And if we're thinking about it in that way, from like, what are the different types of questions that people are going to have? Like, somewhat like I was saying, using an example of somebody who's gluten free, someone who uses a wheelchair is going to be looking for a different set of questions. Someone who has particularly a neurodivergent child that they're caring for might have a different set of questions. And it's not that you have to build an entire strategy, but if I understand what you're saying, it's making sure that you just got simple answers sometimes to those questions can do a lot of good in helping people see that, yes, this is the right brand for me.
Yeah, that can go a long way, but it all starts with understanding your customers and what we're
Yeah.
calling customer intimacy. There are
Yeah.
some marketers that I talk to when I'm doing a marketing workshop, something like that, and they're saying,
Hmm.
like, I can't talk to my customers. Like, our organization is not set up that way.
Yeah.
And for them, I always advise them to talk to their salespeople or their customer service people. You can look at customer service chat logs or emails or
Yeah.
listen to recorded phone calls with something like that. But you've got to figure out how you're going to get a steady stream of questions that your
Yeah.
customers are asking so that you can start to answer many more diverse questions.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another podcast recommendation for you. It's Augmenters, hosted by Julie Meyer and Jimmy Edgerton, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. So on this show, Julie and Jimmy dive into mentoring and explore ways to augment and refresh the mentoring environment. They're using 8 core principles that weave relevant spirit guides and diverse guests, and Julie and Jimmy use a lot of humor and practical tips to help mentors and mentees get further faster together. There's so many great episodes to tune into for this show, but one that you might find especially interesting is their latest episode, number 120, Mentoring Across Gender, Men as Allies and Mentors. Listen to Augmentors wherever you get your podcasts. What are your thoughts on how marketers are currently performing with regards to thinking about a broader diversity of customers and the different identities people hold with regards to their marketing and their SEO strategies?
I think it's really tough because, all of us live in our own bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really think beyond your bubble. And each and every one of us, including me, is, affected by this. So that can be really difficult. And when you get out of your own bubble, sometimes like life gets harder. So it could be the reason why it's people don't do this. But even a marketing team with, you could have a marketing team, 5, 10, 20 people and not really have the diversity in viewpoints and experiences and journeys to the product that could be useful. And it's just different for every brand in terms of what's missing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if someone came to you and said, "Hey, Dale, how can I make my SEO strategy more inclusive?" What would your response be or your advice be for them?
So I think, it starts with two things. Like one is what we've already been talking about around customer intimacy. Like how well do you know your customers, making sure that you and every other marketer on your team is having conversations with customers or salespeople or customer service, like as often as possible. But then the other thing is the content that you're publishing. Typically for SEO content, people are thinking about blogging. So they're writing blog articles. Blog articles are not the best way to do SEO. There are other formats like Q&A or comparison content. And so just thinking about what type of content I should be generating that allows me to basically answer more questions and different types of questions and get in front of people with different types of content, because it's going to be different types of content will be useful for different people. The different people engage with it.
Yeah.
So thinking about that too, not that there's anything wrong with writing blog articles. It's just that for SEO campaigns, typically the only thing people are doing is writing blog articles, but there's so much more to be doing with content.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think even just in what you mentioned there, it's about thinking about the different type of people. There isn't one way to do anything, right? So there's we probably need to diversify our approach to most things that we do to make sure that we're reaching the different identities and the diversity in the way in which people receive and desire to get their information.
Yeah, and then with SEO campaigns will typically start with keyword research. And keyword research tools will tell you what people are typing in and what keywords have the most search volume. The problem with that is the types of preferences that you and I are talking about are hidden by keyword research. Like if I'm looking for a doctor in Boston, but I'm looking for somebody with a certain level of experience, or I'm looking for somebody who looks like me, or maybe has shared some of my experience. None of that's going to show up in the keyword that I'm typing into Google. So we want to make sure that we're able to uncover those preferences outside of just doing keyword research. But that's another big trap that marketers fall into when they're doing SEO.
Yeah. Is it helpful for brands to encourage their customers to leave reviews on, like, I guess, their profile? So, because I find that the more and more I'm looking at some of these reviews, like you see a lot of things like, I wasn't sure if this would work for someone like me. And then they write like what it is about them that they have. And I think people are often looking to understand and answer this question, is this brand right for someone like me? So getting that information from another person who was like them is often helpful. So not to say that brands should be picking and choosing, oh, wait, you have this identity, could you go leave a review? But it's more of like, if you've got a good diversity of your customers, hopefully, and they're consistently leaving reviews, you will get a good cross section of the different types of feedback on those reviews that make people feel seen and know that other people like them are doing so.
Yeah, I mean, reviews, and the social proof and uncovering information that otherwise wouldn't be available publicly on the web. Like reviews are always a good idea to promote reviews. Now, I'm saying always, and I'm emphasizing always because somebody is going to say, "Well, wait a minute, Dale. Like, look at this. We opened up our brand to reviews and we got some pretty negative reviews, like that sort of thing. Like that happens, and
It's part of
that
it.
can be an issue. You can imagine a restaurant where somebody walked in on a bad day and now all of a sudden they're stuck with a negative review. But the thing is, like paired with encouraging reviews should really be treating your customers well. So if
Yes.
you're trying to build a brand that treats all of your customers well, even in the distant corners of your market, then you're gonna get positive reviews, and
Yeah.
encouraging reviews is very much going to be a positive for your brand.
Yeah. One other thing on reviews, I think that people forget. We were talking earlier about customer intimacy and talking to your customers. The more your reviews, reviews are a gold mine and they're also a gift. They're a gift in that when they're like genuine reviews, if there is something that maybe you aren't doing so well, if somebody's talking about it, you can find it, fix it, respond to them, and really make up for it. And so you can develop that customer intimacy by hearing very much how people are talking about the things that they love about you and the things that they wish that you could do better. So it sounds like it probably could be a gift all around. And you can really create a lot of loyalty if you were able to turn a situation around from someone who didn't have the best experience, maybe in the
Yes,
beginning.
and don't forget to look at your competitors' reviews because
Yeah.
we can learn just as much sometimes by looking at our competitors' reviews. Like, what are their customers complaining about?
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. All right. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I'm curious from your perspective as a consumer. Could you tell me about a time where a brand made you feel like you belonged?
Oh, I love this question. A brand that makes me feel belonged, like I feel belonged. A lot of times what I think of is a brand that is really good at customer service or hospitality. So what they might actually make me feel welcomed, which could be wonderful, right? But that's not the same as belonging. Like
Yeah.
the way that I think about belonging is they don't just tolerate me, but they're they're
Yeah.
genuinely happy that they have me as a customer, to the extent that they're willing to introduce me to their other customers, show me off to their other customers. Like I'm a part of their community. And I,
Hmm.
and I can't tell you how many times I've interacted with a brand where I felt like, yeah, they were happy to take my money, but they've got some customers over there off to the side that they're not sure they want them to know that they're doing business with me, right? And we've
Hmm.
we've all been in like had experiences with luxury brands that can make you feel that way, right? So brand specifically, I work in a co-working space, the CIC in Boston, which is amazing. It's an amazing community around the brand, and the people who run all of the CIC locations are trying to build a community. They're trying to make everybody feel like they belong. So that's a brand where I feel like they are happy to have me in their community and really really showcase that.
Yeah.
Brands that make me feel like I belong are really brands that welcome me into their larger community of
Hmm.
customers. It's not just that they give good customer service or good
Yeah.
hospitality.
Yeah. It's not about that singular transaction that you might have with them. It's like the broader. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I get that. Very cool. All right, Dale, this has been so much fun. And I love how you've sort of demystified SEO in the sense that it's not has to be this giant sort of technical thing that we need to be figuring out how to make it work for us. It can work for us, but it really comes down to being human and thinking about how can we best answer the questions in a manner that works best for the people that we're serving. So any parting words of wisdom that you have for marketers and business leaders who want to make sure that their SEO strategy is inclusive of people with various identities?
Well, I feel like I've already said it. Like the more of your customers that you can get on the phone with or talk with in person, like that's really the cheat code to figuring it out. And you'll come to some epiphanies and figure out what you should be doing across all of your marketing that might have never occurred to you if you
Yeah.
hadn't had those conversations. And
Yeah.
ask the right questions. around like, how did that make you feel? Why did you make that choice? Why didn't you do business with this other brand? And see if you can suss out something that otherwise you would have never realized.
Thank you, Dale. You made it so doable for us. So I appreciate you for stopping by.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Dale had so many cool things to share, and he really helped put in perspective a lot of things for me as it relates to search engine optimization. It's about so much more than keywords and keyword research and writing blog posts. And I just really appreciated how he was able to connect the dots for me. And I hope he was able to do that for you too as well. If you like this episode, let's continue the conversation. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Let's have a conversation on email and social in the DMs. I want to know what it is that you think. Also, if you enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend, a colleague, and or your network. It really does go a long way towards helping more people discover the show, as does leaving a review for it in your podcast player of choice. Also, are you getting the Inclusion in Marketing newsletter? Each week, I send news, stories, insights, and other cool tips and resources to help you attract and retain a bigger, more diverse, and fiercely loyal customer base. Go to inclusionandmarketing.com/newsletter to get signed up. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves to have a place where they belong. Let's use our individual and collective power to ensure more people feel like they do. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon.